Welcome back to L Formula. On today's F1 news, we'll mainly be focusing on NICO Hulkenberg and his awesome podium at the British Grand Prix. A few bits and bobs towards the end. As always guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. So first of all, if you haven't watched the race, I would highly recommend watching the whole thing from start to finish. It's a bit slow at first, but it really picks up towards the second half. And what a race it was. We had almost everything: yellow flags, virtual safety car, rain, sun, crashes, spins, many pit stops. I think it's a race to remember. Most importantly, it marked the moment that NICO Hulkenberg finally got onto the podium after 293 race starts. It has finally happened. I don't usually support a specific driver or team, but Hulkenberg getting the podium really hits differently. This guy has had such a difficult career despite being really talented. And we all know how talented he was because he won Le Mans when he was let go from Renault. And even now, I hope this drive gives him the opportunity to get a better team in the future. But like I said, this podium just hits a bit differently than any other one. Firstly, this guy got driver of the day by a massive margin of 49%. If you look at previous drivers of the day, it's usually around the 20 to 30% mark. So 49% was absolutely overwhelming. And the amount of engagement from the F1 posts were much bigger than Lando Norris winning his own home race. But where it went really crazy was on social media. And by that, I mean the memes. They literally made my day.
Whoa. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. King in the castle. Have a chair, I have a chair.
And this was probably the highlight of all of the memes. Kevin Magnussen saying, "Suck my balls, mate." Now, Nico's form has been immense for over the past 4 races. He's gone from the back of the grid to make up 10 places, 11 places, and 16 places in all these races. I don't think this should be seen as a fluke. It was just that in variable conditions like we had during Silverstone, and also where car performance somewhat gets neutralized, for the exception of the McLarens, gave him this opportunity for this podium. So in some sense, this was in the making. And he's been so consistent that he has now outscored Verstappen himself in the last 4 races. Hulkenberg scored 31 points, Verstappen 29. And as Kick Sauber, they've also scored more points than Red Bull Racing, which is actually insane when you think about it. And as of this weekend, Hulkenberg has now passed on the baton of the most F1 starts without a podium to Adrian Sittel, having 128 races with no podium. Now, given there are like 24 races per season, it won't take long for someone to beat that record. It will just require someone to be in Formula 1 for 5 to 6 seasons, and they would have beaten that record. In terms of the grid's response to his podium, this was Max. He was very happy for Nico, and you can see him congratulating him on the in-lap. And then you saw him in person as well, and he had to say this in his interview. I'm really happy for him. When you're in Formula 1 for such a long time, and you've not been on the podium, and being so close a few times, I think this is very special for him. He'll take it, and he'll be very happy, but I think he knows how good he is. The podium does not suddenly say you're a lot better. It's just really nice for him to at least be on a podium, on an F1 podium. And this is what Nico had to say about Max.
He was the first guy who came.
And the in-lap was also nice, huh?
Yeah, I remember that down to Cups, yeah. He was also the first guy when I got out of the car who came, yeah. Yeah, we go way back, you know, from karting days when we were teenagers, basically. So I think we have a lot of respect. Anyway, I have huge respect for him, you know, what he does, what he stands for, and, you know, he's a great human being.
And according to Sky Germany, it was said that Max Verstappen will wait for Nico Hulkenberg so that they can fly together in his private jet. A super nice gesture from Max Verstappen. I'm not sure if this was the photo of them after the race or an old photo that's currently recirculating of them in the jet. This was actually hilarious when I saw it live on TV. Gabriel Bortoleto ran past Lando Norris after he won his home race to actually go and congratulate Nico Hulkenberg. And this was a nice touch from Mercedes and Aston Martin. Sauber did not have any champagne ready, so the other teams like Mercedes and Aston Martin helped them out and sent them champagne to celebrate. And the scenes in their garage was actually pretty epic, as well as when the drivers had just come out the car and you could hear them chanting Nico, Nico, and you could see that they were so much more louder than the McLaren team after they got a 1-2. So there was a bit of controversy as a lot of people noticed that the McLaren drivers didn't give Nico a proper celebration for his first podium. You can see that they went off to the corner to celebrate with each other and left Nico by himself. This is Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen, 2 Formula 1 world champions, showing class to Pastor Maldonado when he was at Williams. This is despite Maldonado being an absolute menace and having a reputation to crash into other drivers. Despite that, they put them on his shoulders and let him celebrate his first podium. This was not so long ago when Kimi Antonelli got his first podium and Max Verstappen and George Russell sprayed him with champagne to make it special for him. So the McLaren boys need to take a page out of the other Formula One drivers and be a bit more humble. Finally, just wrapping up a few more things that drivers said about Nico Hulkenberg. This is Fernando Alonso. I mean, it's the first podium, I think, for him. So very happy for him. One of the best drivers on the grid that never had the opportunity to have a proper car underneath. I'm very, very truly happy for him. I hope he enjoys today. And Carlos Sainz, who was an ex-teammate of Nico Hulkenberg at Renault, had to say the following: the fact that people could keep cursing the fact that he didn't have any podiums was completely irrelevant. For me, he's always been a top 5 driver on the grid. I hope Audi's able to deliver something special for him for the 2026 season, or he's able to even secure something better after this drive with another team. But I do think Jonathan Wheatley and Matteo Binotto have had a sizable impact on this organization, and the results that I mentioned earlier isn't a coincidence, but through their leadership. So it could be interesting to see how the new regulations come in and how this leadership guides the team to hopefully some form of success. So on to a few other things before I wrap this video. Lando's got another scar on his nose. It seems like a photographer was getting off the fence and he stumbled backwards onto Lando. And I think Lando's face then went into another photographer's camera. And this is what he had to say about it. Long story, but now I have 2 scars on my nose. One was lonely, so now I've got 2. But it's all part of the memories of Silverstone. Max was asked about the safety car incident with Oscar Piastri and he had to say the following: it happened to me a few times now that people do that in front of me. I saw after the race he got a 10-second penalty for it. This is also very, very extreme. 10 seconds? But oh well, I don't make the rules. I think most watching it also thought it was pretty harsh. And I know the FIA have clarified the guidelines on certain issues like this very recently. But the incident with George Russell and Max Verstappen at Canada was very similar, and George got away with it scot-free. In terms of Piastri's case, the steward said that car 81 braked hard and was 59.2 psi of brake pressure and reduced speed in the middle of the straight between turns 14 and turn 15 from 218 kilometers an hour to 52 kilometers per hour. They said that this was erratic braking on the straights before turn 15 when the safety car lights were extinguished. One of the reasons why Oscar felt so aggrieved by this decision was that he did the exact same thing in the last safety car restart and they didn't give him a penalty. The fact that he did the same thing again and got the penalty is what he's finding, that there is a level of inconsistency that he can't just wrap his head around. But also to get a 10-second penalty for this, I thought was a bit extreme. And part of me also thinks that the FIA or whoever it is in the background wants the title race between Lando and Oscar to be more interesting. And I think it also just makes for better viewing if Lando wins his home Grand Prix. What's your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Kimi Antonelli, the prodigy kid of Mercedes, has not had a great spell off the last few races. In the last 6 races, he has DNF'd. He's come 18th, DNF'd, come 3rd, DNF'd, and DNF'd again. If Max Verstappen were to come into the team, it would probably mean to me that Antonelli has to go and George Russell should stay. Finally, I think Flavio Briatore has had enough with all these rookies, with the DNF from Colapinto at the Silverstone Grand Prix and poor results in comparison to Gasly. It says now Flavio Briatore has reached out to Toto Wolff about potentially signing Valtteri Bottas, and Briatore continues to explore alternative options for Alpine's driver lineup. I don't think it'll be too long before Colapinto is kicked out that seat and someone else will replace him. Anyways, that's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.